your time and joining today.
It's okay.
How's your feeling on International Women's Day today?
Well, it's been kind of busy because this is the third conference I've spoken at. So.
That's amazing. I know you are really busy, and I'm really thankful that you take out your time. So I just want you to please formally introduce yourself with the audience, because I know you very well, but the global audience, they want to know about your introduction, and then you can continue your talk for the day.
Okay, sure. So I am an expert in sustainable finance. I've worked in the financial industry for most of my career. I work as a strategic advisor to governments, regulators, institutional investors, and so forth. I'm based in the UAE, but I was in Asia for many years, head of Asia for a number of roles, based in Hong Kong and Beijing. I've also worked in New York and London, so I'm fairly global in terms of my experience and my scope. Now, the reason I have been invited today is really to talk about my recent book that was published last month. The book is titled Financial Feminism, A Woman's Guide to Investing for a Sustainable Future. So I'll take the next 10 minutes or so really to introduce you to the concept of financial feminism, really talking about women and wealth, and really understanding the trends that are going on, and then what is financial feminism in that context and why it matters today. I'll also talk to you through my understanding of sustainable investing and why I feel that's integral to financial feminism, and then finish off with some tangible, practical solutions and ideas on how we can move forward on this. So when we talk about women and wealth, I think there are key trends that are really shaping this discussion. Sometimes we find that conversations around women and money can be quite difficult. There are many reasons why, and some of this is cultural, some are sort of societal. But there are many events and many trends that we're seeing globally, which I really want to raise and highlight, because I think these are relevant to our discussions when we talk about financial empowerment for women. So the first is, we know that women face multiple financial related gaps. The big one, obviously, is the gender pay gap, with women paid on average 80% of what men are paid for comparative positions. We're looking at 200 years at least for the economic gap to close. But in addition to the gender pay gap, we face many other gaps which are part of what we need to work on. There's the gender investing gap. Women are simply not investing as much as men. They're leaving more in cash. And then this is obviously resulting in a shortfall when they come through to retirement and beyond. The gender funding gap, which is a huge issue, and I'm sure many people are very familiar with it. Female-led businesses, women entrepreneurs find it much more difficult to raise the capital they need to grow their businesses. Just in 2020, we were looking at still only 2% of female-founded businesses, female-only businesses, receiving VC funding in the US. On top of that, there is also the gender debt gap, and where evidence and research shows that women are tending to pay more for their debt than men. So all of these gaps collectively are leaving women in quite a difficult position. The second trend I wanted to highlight was that despite these gaps, we're now seeing that women control a significant chunk of the world's wealth. We're looking at around 30% of global private wealth, and this is expected to grow annually. Increasingly, this is self-generated. And that's a very important thing to note, because we're seeing women become economic powerhouses much more involved and a much bigger scale. We create, we control, and we influence a huge amount of wealth. The third trend I wanted to raise was that more women are working, especially in the financial industry, and this is changing the dynamic of the landscape. I think when we look at things around visibility at board and senior management level, we look at the number of women who are in the financial investment industry. What we're seeing is this is redirecting some corporate strategies, products and services that now are increasingly tailored to women. The final trend, and this is really the crux of what I will talk about, is that we have a better understanding now of what women want when it comes to investing. Increasing evidence that women care about the bigger picture as consumers, as employers, and as investors. And just for example, my organization, we did some global research and we found that 79% of women feel that we urgently need to act in order to build a better world. And 69% of women feel it's important that investment and savings decisions reflect personal values and philosophies. So with all of these trends, there's obviously a huge change underway, but it's all leading in the same direction. And it's against this context that I want to talk about financial feminism. When we talk about financial feminism, of course, it's as everything, we're talking about equality. In this case, it's the belief in the financial equality of women. So anyone who cares about feminism is thinking how we grapple with these issues, both the understanding of the trends and addressing the gaps outlined. But, and this is really the core argument of my book, I believe that actually financial feminism is much more than that. I think we need to extend the concept to actually talk about how financial feminism is not just about women earning and investing on a par with men. It's actually about empowering them to use their money, to use their wealth, to push for positive change in the world. It's about women using their money to create the world that they want to live in. And this is where I talk about sustainable investing. Women investing in companies and sectors that are aligned with their vision of the world. For example, women supporting other women in their business, investing more, but investing more consciously. And to me, financial feminism gives women that voice to determine how the world should change for the better. And I think this is hugely powerful on both a personal and a professional level. So just on the sustainable investing topic, obviously, we've always historically been concerned with financial returns, but we've seen this really shift in the last couple of years. Many people have heard of sustainable and responsible investing, ESG investing, impact investing. They're all, they have nuanced differences, but actually there's always a commonality. And that is the goal to achieve positive change in an area where the investor is passionate. Invariably, this has a social or environmental dimension for sure. The environment, we talk about environmental footprint, greenhouse gas emissions, energy efficiency, and so forth. Social, we obviously talk about a company's role in society. So labor standards, how a company treats suppliers, hot topics like how we better manage supply chains, illegal child labor, and so forth. And then governance, which is really the relationship between management of the company and its stakeholders. So we'd touch on things like gender diversity, directors' pay, and so forth. And I think that the key thing here when we talk about women and how they think about investment is that money is very much a social construct. We came up with it as a way to organize our economy within our societies, but it's actually not an end in itself. It's always been a means to create the world we want to live in. And again, this comes back to the financial empowerment for women in understanding and really appreciating how they want to use their wealth and how they want to use their capital as well. So, one question I'm asked quite a lot is what's holding women back in terms of their financial empowerment. And whilst I don't want to generalize, I think that there are some challenges we need to recognize if we really want to move forward with this empowerment discussion for women. I think confidence is an issue. We have a lot of research that indicates there's a lack of confidence when investing. Many women feel they don't understand financial products well enough. They also lack the time and have limited investment knowledge. And in a way, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy because the less you invest, the less your confidence will grow. We've also got a lot of issues around language and communication. So the way we talk to men about money and investing is very different to the way we talk to women. We often talk to women about saving, being cautious, being careful on the assumption that that's what she needs to do. Whereas men, we talk about much more about taking a risk and being more of a man and more confident. And I think these are the kind of systemic challenges that we really need to think about if we're really serious about moving forward on this. I'm conscious of time. So really what I will just say as I close up, I think, many people ask me why I wrote the book, Financial Feminism, and what the key takeaways are. And really for me, and the same reason that I launched Moxie Future, which is my blog and community site for women interested in sustainable investing, is that I just feel this is an opportunity and a moment in time when we need to empower women to take the next step and to feel much more confident about money. And I think this is an important element of feminism that perhaps hasn't been given enough attention. So when a reader gets to the end of the book, I want her to feel empowered to start pushing for change, and to give her enough information to go to the bank or the financial advisor and be very clear about what she wants. The other thing, just to finish on, is that it's not just for women. I believe that sustainable investing is for men and for women, and it's not about the exclusion of men at all. And actually, that's very key to the understanding of what we're talking about. What I am doing is really trying to recognize some unique challenges that women face when it comes to money and investing, and really address those and actually help many women on that journey, given that we know how highly motivated they are when they think about the impact of their wealth and their investment decisions. And that's really where I want to bring it in.
Very interesting. And I just want to discuss that point where you said that the men and women style of investments are totally different. And as we understand that there are three types of investors: the aggressive, moderate, and the conservative. So as a women investor, what you feel that most of the women you encounter, where you categorize them? Did you find women who are aggressive investors, or mostly which pole you find them mostly during your investment experience?
I would be very reluctant to categorize women like that. I suspect aggressive, moderate, and conservative are probably male-defined terms. I don't think they're particularly applicable to women. I think that the point that I'm making is not the investment style. I think everybody has a different risk appetite, and I don't assign gender to that. What I do assign, where I have the conversation with women, is purely around the financial industry and what the financial industry provides for women. So the fact is, if women feel disengaged, so they go and speak to a financial advisor and they feel patronized, that's the issue we need to address. Not whether they're an aggressive investor or they have a high risk appetite or not. I don't believe that's a gender issue. I think the issues that we need to address from a female empowerment perspective is more around the industry and how we actually understand, identify, and treat women as clients, as customers, and as wealth, as wealth creators and wealth owners. And I think I feel very strongly about this when we come to funding of women. We all know that women-run businesses are very successful. Women work so hard to get VC funding, so much harder. So we have to do something to change that, right? And that is largely because the VC industry has a huge gender bias against women who are pitching for money. So what do? We have to figure out the solution.
Yeah, so you're right, absolutely right. This is what I was actually aiming to know, that in your research and in your experience, did you figure out that what are the reasons that most of the women we saw in investment industry, they are mainly into relationship and on the front end, and very less we find the CEOs are converted, they reach to a level where they become a CEO. There are examples, of course, but it's not that 50-50 ratio still yet not been reached. So what could be the possible reasons for that?
Well, I think that a lot of women, as I said, feel quite disengaged. The finance and investment industry is a very male-dominated industry. I've worked for most of my life across all regions in the world, and it's still very male-dominated. And that means the language, the services provided, the version or the interpretation of what success looks like is male-defined. And where I think we need to address what women think, and this is where I think sustainable investing plays such a critical role, is women actually make many decisions based on value creation, and that's not always just around profit and financial return. So, for example, I don't want to invest in a company that it isn't well managed in terms of its environmental footprint. I don't want to invest in a company that employs children to produce its products. I want transparency and clarity. I want clarity from those companies. I want clarity from the advisors, and I want clarity from the funds. And I pretty much from all the women I know would agree to me. So I think now is the time that we rise up and we say the financial industry needs to start addressing what women are thinking about and what they prioritize. So it's a huge opportunity, right? Which is why we also need more women in the finance industry.
That's amazing. And my last question from you is that what do you think that what kind of projects can be started to support women in terms of startup and incubation and developing them as an investment as a woman in business?
So I think, and I'm quite an active angel investor looking specifically for female founders. I think that's really important. We have to figure out this funding issue in terms of getting women who are phenomenal business owners easier access to capital so they can grow their business. When you look at some of the ridiculous companies that are raising billions in Silicon Valley, based on, and then there are women creating amazing solutions to global problems around education, health, climate change. We need to start valuing our contribution to society and the environment much better than we currently are. And I think that starts with us as individuals. I think we can become active investors. You don't have to have millions. You can start with a small amount. And it's really actually sort of putting your money where your mouth is and saying, this matters to me and this is what I'm willing to invest in.
That's amazing, Jessica. Your thoughts are really amazing and outclass. And I'm sure that our audience will learn from your suggestions and your thoughts. With this, I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.